We're here because somebody told me you guys like a good battle. Is that true? You guys want a good battle? How about the GTX 1060 laptop edition here in the GS73 VR Stealth Pro? That's my new laptop right here. So we've got the GTX 1060 in here, and then there's the desktop variant. And they're pretty much the same as far as specs go, except for the frequency. So let's just go through that quickly and tell you the differences. First off, the laptop version here, GPU is clocked at 1405, and the boost clock goes up to 1671. That's the stock as it is. Now it has 1280 CUDA cores, and the desktop part has the same amount of CUDA cores. You still have the GDDR5, still 192-bit. On the desktop GTX 1060, still got the 1280 CUDA cores. We have the core clock at 1506, and the boost clock goes up to 1709. You can push this card a little bit. GDP is 120 watts, which makes it pretty good for a notebook. They still had to do a couple of things, but it's not as severe as, like, you know, what they had to do with the 1080 and the 1070. So this one is very close to the desktop counterpart. And there's a lot of people online that are yelling and screaming and saying, that card is not a 4K card by any shape of the imagination. And I was curious. So I decided to test out the desktop part on our 4K monitor. And then I brought the 4K monitor over here because I've got the 1080p version of this because I wanted the 120 hertz refresh rate, and also 1080p is just fine on the 17-inch screen. Anyway, I brought the big 40-inch 4K monitor over here and set it down on the desk and tried out my games at 4K and 1080p so we can really see the differences. Now, as far as the test rig goes, we have this one. This has the Intel, the latest Intel, you know, in it. And then over there on our test bench for the desktop, I guess the 1060, it's the Founders Edition. On that one, we have the Intel 5820K, and then we have DDR4 memory, and it's an X99 platform on the MSI Tomahawk motherboard. So we're using that one to do a lot of our testing over there. So that one obviously has the advantage when it comes to just CPU muscle. But what I wanted to do really was not put it exactly head-to-head. I wanted to see what you could get for around the same price on a desktop. You still have to go out and grab a monitor and stuff on that one, but it's going to be a similarly priced system once you get everything into that system. You know, M.2 and an extra storage hard drive just to get the same specs between the two. It'll be about the same price using that X99 with 5820K. The Tomahawk might put it a little bit over the price point. But anyway, let's get down to business and talk about the benchmarks. The first thing we did was the Vanishing of Ethan Carter. They recently updated that to Unreal Engine 4, which is what we're using for Zweihander. The laptop at 1080p, you can see there, struggles a little bit behind the 1080p on the desktop, and that's probably because the CPU has so much more horsepower and also just a little bit of a frequency advantage there. But when you look at 4K, it doesn't matter as much. 4K is really pushing the GPU to its limits. And as you can see there in 4K with the filters turned on, it's a very close race between the desktop and the laptop. Now, jumping over to Valley, we see sort of the same trend here going on. The 1080p on the desktop does quite a bit better. Well, not quite a bit better, but a decent chunk better than 1080p on the laptop. But when we step it up to 4K, it's 15.4 versus 18 FPS laptop to the desktop part. Not too bad. All right, Doom actually ran really well at just about all the settings. As you can see, the laptop and the desktop there, both over 100 FPS. So that's just fine for this one since it's got the 120 hertz refresh rate. It just loves 1080p gaming. But, you know, 4K, it's okay. 4K is okay. Is that like a shirt slogan? I'm not selling that shirt. Anyway, laptop and desktop there, as you can see, very close in performance. Very close in performance indeed. All right, next up is BioShock Infinite. And BioShock Infinite at all resolutions is very GPU bound. We were able to test an old i7 920 versus the, you know, like a newer i7 in one of our old videos. And with BioShock Infinite, it was about the same speed because this game loves the GPU, and the CPUs are, it's like, okay, cool. Maybe you got triple channel memory back in the day. Oh, I like that. So whatever. So 1080p on the laptop and the desktop, both very close performance. And then when you look at 4K with BioShock Infinite, they're both really, really close. 36.64 versus 37.92. So the performance on that game is very close to the desktop, even though the desktop has the muscly CPU. I like them muscly CPUs. Say there, Chris. Is that your muscly CPU? Want to come help me build my computer later with those muscly arms? All right, last game, Witcher 3. This game is pretty taxing, typically. Now, 1080p, it ran really well. Above 80 FPS on both the desktop and the laptop, and there's not too much of a difference there. At 4K, it could not get to 30 FPS, but the performance is very, very similar. So when you run these games at 4K, you really do see that they are very much the same GPU. It's very evident. when you're buying this laptop, you're going to be running it at 1080p. So that's just what it is going to be. It's not going to compete quite with the performance of the desktop at 1080p, but the thing really is you've got it in the laptop. It's going to run kind of warm, but not crazy warm. It was getting about 80C after letting Valley run for about 10-15 minutes. So it hit 80C. We tried MSI Afterburner, and we were able to get about another 100 megahertz on this. So that's pretty cool. I mean, that was just messing around, not even really trying. We may be able to push it farther than that. One thing I will say about this laptop is that when it is really cranking up in games, the fans, and it's got a bunch of fans inside here, and they're fancy fans. They've always got some new technology, and they market like, holy shit, we've got the fanciest fans on the planet inside here. So they've got fancy fans. They keep it cold. They let it run fast, but they're pretty loud. They're like loud enough that if I'm playing a game, I'm gonna have to wear headphones. Because especially if I'm playing like a stealth game like Dishonored 2, Thief or something like that, and I'm sneaking around and stuff like that, all I'm going to hear if I'm using the laptop speakers is, but let's face it, it's laptop speakers. It's got a subwoofer in here, but it's still laptop sound. It's whatever. So you're going to be using, headphones or a headset. And headphones if you've seen our video. So really that's the performance difference in the desktop part and the laptop part. Desktop part can also be pushed a little farther than the laptop part, just so you know. You got a little bit more headroom, but just out of the box, this is pretty respectable. And the 4K performance, if you want to bring this thing home and plug it into a 4K monitor, by all means do so. It's not bad at 4K. And one more thing I'll say about 4K, because some people are saying this is not a 4K card, because you've looked at a lot of the damn benchmarks. Most benchmarks on all these websites are run with filters on. At 4K, you can crank the filters down. You don't see the aliased edges as much at 4K, so don't worry about it. Crank down your filters. Make your game silky smooth, because 4K without filters looks better than 1080p with filters. And don't you freaking forget it. Anyway, go ahead and click over here. We got some new shirts. They're freaking awesome. Everything's just freaking today. Get one of these. I can't believe how much beer I put in this thing. I'm never going to be able to drink all this. But yeah, you can get these cups on there, and we got a whole bunch of other stuff. Let us know what you guys want for the holidays. A new mouse? Would you guys like a new mouse? Maybe? I've been looking at some mice while we were over in China. We've got a couple that we've been playing around with. But let me know if you guys want another mouse with a fancy sensor, maybe 3366 or something like that. Who knows? Anyway, see you guys in the comments. I got no ending salutation. Bye.